for the love of the game. And I guess even to my homies, I was hard to them, so they was like, nah, if anybody gonna be putting it down for the set, it's gonna be you.
Postman. Do you understand? Postman. Making peace in the land. Keep your head high, let the homies inspire. Turn pain into purpose, rise above the fire. From the streets to the mic, the wisdom is real. Hood postman teaching lessons you can feel. Every chant, every word, every scratch, every beat. West Coast energy, you can't compete. The streets are made for everyone, that's why they created sidewalks. Turn my circle into a square, that way I can see who's in my corner. The lion and the tiger may be more powerful, but you ain't never seen a wolf perform in the circus. Kings don't wrestle with clowns. Cool. Holla, 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 holla. Hood postman, Hood postman, make it understand. Hood postman. He doing one hand. Hood postman. Do you understand?
Lock the door. Professor Melly Mail, the Hood Postman. Who I'm here with today?
Man, the one and only man, Lil Hawk, the famous Dmoo. You already know, big bro.
Man, famous Dmoo, man. That's excellent, man.
Man.
Talk to me about growing up and what was it like for you in your early stages?
Well, man, just the neighborhood and community where it all got started for me, man. I went to Woodruff Elementary, which is right down the street, right there. If you look down the alley, they tearing it down now, but Woodruff Elementary be down there. Monroe Junior High School, Morningside. So for me growing up over here, man, I got a lot of memorable moments, what I'm saying? Good times, bad times. I'm from actually Woodruff Elementary, been over here my whole life. And I can honestly say, man, growing up over here, it could have been considered rough and tough, but it actually made me into the strong individual I am today because of everything I had to witness, bear witness to, seen, been involved in. This area produced a lot of good dudes, and we just end up, making a lot of bad decisions or whatever, but besides that, this community produced a lot of good dudes, man, a lot of good women, a lot of good kids came from out this community, man. I love it to death, man. My heart and soul is over here, man.
If you had to give it one way or the other, what would you say was the biggest teacher, the environment or the education that you received at Woodruff? What was the biggest teacher?
Well, to keep it clean with you, when I was coming up, that was like the first generation for the youngsters. That was my age, following up on the big homies. We had brothers, relatives that was from the hood and all that. So for me, I was young, impressionable, so I was distracted from education. I was getting all my education over here. The older homies out here, doing what they was doing, having the low riders, the pretty women, counting bread. So I was impressionable. So I wanted to be just like the big homies. You know what I'm saying? So instead of me worrying about education, I'm worrying about how could I get in? How could I be down? You dig what I'm saying? So I was real distracted from education. On bottoms, technicalities. You dig what I'm saying? So that's how it was for me. Even though I was always very smart and intelligent, but like I said, man, I just got distracted by the set, and once I got distracted by the set, that's all she wrote.
Would you say today, in today's terms, would you say the blood in itself is more individuality, or is it still part of a collective? How would you frame that?
Me personally, speaking for myself.
Absolutely, we want from yourself.
Speaking for myself, based on I'm a real Dmoo, a positive Dmoo. At this point, it's individual. At this point, it's about your own moral principles, belief system. Like I said, I'm a Dmoo, I'm a positive Dmoo. I'm in my community right now. I'm not over here to destruct the community, but I got young homies over here, I got nephews over here, I got relatives over here, my whole family from over here, I've been over here all my life. So when I look like abandoned in this community, when I know that I could be of some good service, I can help save a life or two, I can prevent certain situations, I can help de-escalate. I can't make nobody do nothing, I can't force nobody into nothing, but I can hold a space for them to listen and be of some peer support, stuff like that. So when I'm in my community, I'm making sure there's no foolishness going on my watch, man. I'm out here trying to regulate nothing, but at the end of the day, I'm from this community. So I feel an obligation to bring some positivity back to this community.
Man, that really resonates with me because that showed me that the growth and the maturity and everything that has probably happened in your life helped bring you to this point right
Straight
now,
up.
to
Straight
where
up.
we can actually talk about it.
Straight up.
And if I had to ask, man, we learn more from, and I'm talking as a younger age, kids learn more from what they see and what we do versus
Right.
what we teach.
Right.
And that's been just, I don't know if that's just us as black people, I don't know if that's just our culture, but at what point, can you share a moment that was most impactful growing up that helped you bring about a new perspective in how you interact with your community?
Well, you know, it's two sides of that coin. You got the good side, you got the bad side.
Yes.
We're gonna start with the bad side. I was first impacted in the community from a traumatic standpoint. I was at the early age of like 10 years old, man. You know what I'm saying? I had a little cousin who was both 10 years old. He lived up the street, he was playing with a neighbor. The neighbor had killed him, you know what I'm saying, with a gun. I don't know if it was on purpose or accident. So that was my first traumatic experience, to see my cousin that was just with me an hour ago get killed, you know what I'm saying, and have to witness all that. So then from that, as early as that, from like I say 10, 11, I'm in school when my peers got killed, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, death was just coming young. It started, once that it started just kicking off. Next thing you know, just black on black crime just started to spread like a wildfire, man.
Is
You
that,
know?
and then does that build up the animosity as well? And you start looking at certain situations and directions of individuals that potentially, that bring harm or bring favor to you?
Quite naturally. Quite naturally, yes.
And how did you, at some point, when did you say, okay, wait a minute, let me reevaluate everything that I learned early to where I'm at now? How did that happen?
Well, for me, just to be straight up, when I got sentenced to prison with 35 years to life at 23 years old for murder I still to this day don't know nothing about, that's when I knew I was messing up. That's when I knew I was in too deep. You know what I'm saying? I said, hold up. If they can sit here and manufacture a murder against me and just put it together like it's nothing and send me away for 35 years of life, that means the power that I thought I had, what I thought I was doing, didn't mean nothing. That was all for nothing. You know what I'm saying? I really had no power. They had the power. They had the power to send me up the river with a life sentence as a young man. And from that experience, you know, my earlier years in prison, I do a lot of self-reflecting. You know what I'm saying? It caused me to think about my own conduct. I didn't really focus on the fact I was framed for murder and all that. I had to really just sit back and think what led me to even be in a position to get framed in the first place. You dig what I'm saying? So once I got to that point, I said, look, hold up, man. You out here wild now. You know, I had to rewind my whole life like a movie. And once I got to that point, I came to grip that I was becoming my own worst enemy. You dig what I'm saying? So I was like involving myself in black on black crimes. And once I had to take my own responsibility, hold my own self accountable for that, I know I had no longer looked at my sentence for what it was. I got framed all that. I looked at it for what it was in hopes of it was a rescue mission. You dig what I'm saying? So that was in hopes of. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, that was my wake-up call. For me to get took away from society, my family, my kids, you know, people I care about, you know, people that care about me. My mom, that was a hardship on her heart to see her son, you know, get wiped out for somebody to do. But guess what? I put myself in that position.
Do you think
Period.
we ever think about, because I don't know if I ever thought about the consequences and who it was gonna hurt. You know what I mean? I just kind of just did what I did.
Right.
And then later on I found out, damn, I hurt my mom, I hurt my dad, I hurt my family, you know what I
Right.
mean? I don't think I even took that into account, but when I did, oh man, light bulbs went out, you know.
Straight up.
Being in the pen, 35 years of life, right? What was that like? At such a young age?
It was devastating, you know what I'm saying?
For something you didn't do.
Right, that made it even more
You got a strong
devastating.
constitution, by the way.
But at the end of the day, you know what? God made me a certain way. I can't explain it because as long as I've been doing myself, I've always been a strong-minded individual. You dig what I'm saying? Always, you know, stood on principle. You know what I'm saying? And what's up to the youngsters, man? How y'all doing, man?
What's going on, y'all?
Y'all started to choke, man. Y'all gonna get up out of here, man. All right. What's up to love one, man? Gonna get up out of here, dog. But yeah, man, I always stood on principle, man, even as a youngster. And even I was at my most menacing, sort of say, I always had, you know, moral values that kept me grounded in certain areas. I always had the do's and the don'ts. So, and some of the older guys from the neighborhood, that I was raised up under with some real good individuals that gave me some good teachings and good schooling out here. And through them teachings, man, I was able to soak that game up and survive out here in these streets. And I was able to go to prison for a crime I didn't do and survive in prison because I had a strong mind that God blessed me with. You know what I'm saying? But that was basically for me to reconstruct my life though, dog. So I don't have no regrets about going to prison or none of that, because at the end of the day, in some weird, strange way, man, it helped save my life, man.
When you got to prison, what was your initial thoughts? Like, okay, now I'm here. Like, what I'm supposed to do with this? Because I know that's what I had on my mind.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, man, you know, based on the generation I grew up in and the age I got sent to prison, at that time I was in so deep and involved in my activities that in my own sick way of thinking, I'm thinking I'm some type of made man, you know what I'm saying? So through my popularity, you know what I'm saying, the banging on wax, the Dmoo riders, I was known out on the streets for the
So
West
your
of the
sick
East.
thinking became your normal thinking?
Period.
Okay.
Straight up. So once I got put in this environment, sad to say, it's like I kind of like walked and fit right in because and my anger was leading me the way, you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't thinking correctly. All my moves was built on anger. That I was framed for the murder. I wasn't caring about nothing. So my decision making was always built on my first couple of years on just the thought and the fact that I was in prison for something I didn't do. So I was like, I'm about to wild out.
Perfect grind all the time, baby.
Yeah, Cali Finders, baby. Proof of grind all the time. Music money, got a dollar sign. Hub City. I'm a street nigga, streets fuck with me. I'ma keep pushing products till the fans get me. It's guap off top, diamond Cartier. That nigga wall won't give a broke.